Hello everyone, welcome to the SIG meeting for Monday 2nd of June 2025. We've got 5 items on the agenda at the moment. Although I don't think we've got Joachim on the call, so AJ? Guessing is a no as well. Daniel, I guess start with you.
Yeah, before I talk on my own agenda item, I think the first one is really FYI that we can remove now.
Okay.
I talked with Justina. She just wanted to make sure that there was content in the doc. It was moved to a PR. Now the PR should be reviewed, and that's it.
Yep.
On the one that I added, so we have a flag in Autoscaler that determines whether scale down should cordon or just taint the nodes before removing, and it defaults today to false, meaning we will only taint and never cordon. And I believe we should flip that to true and eventually remove the choice. I couldn't come up with a good reason why we wouldn't cordon. And so I wanted to see if anybody has one. I talked with Kuba briefly about this. I think one edge case is if cluster autoscaler cordons a node and then somebody else cordons it as well and cluster autoscaler restarts, then it's not clear who owns the cordoning and who should uncordon during after CA restarts, but this seems like edge case enough not to care about it. But yeah, I'm interested if anybody has any thoughts on this. Why would cordoning be an opt-in feature? Feels like a proper mode of operation.
Jack?
I would think that during scale down, cluster autoscaler would make forward progress only if the node wasn't in an active state of coordinate drain. And so if there's a race condition, is that a correct assumption? Kuba, can you speak to that?
Well, I think what cordoning here means precisely is setting the unschedulable field on the node, and in addition to adding the taint. So CA implementation relies on the taints being there, and the flag only controls whether we set this unschedulable field in addition to having the taints. This is all it does.
Will it set the unschedulable field if it's already been set? Or does it do any kind of check to see that it's already in that state? And if so, sort of short circuit? No, it doesn't.
No.
Because that would be the logical thing to do. It's sort of just detect the okay, there's already an active transaction going on in this node. This is no longer a node candidate for scale down because some other maintenance activity is going on. That would be the sort of default way to handle that race, I think. Daniel.
Okay, so you're saying if there is ongoing, let's say manual kubectl cordon kubectl drain, autoscaler should somehow detect that and try not to scale down the node on its own.
Yeah, it should be really easy to detect.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so in that case, I think that's, to your earlier point, Daniel, that avoids the situation where some other actor is in charge of maintenance on that node, and then cluster autoscaler.
I don't think it does, sadly, because the other actor is free to sort of double set the unschedulable bit when CA has previously set it already. And we can't really guard against that side. And this is probably more likely, this is what Daniel was explaining. The issue is actually with removing the taint, not just adding it. So like CA only does that whenever it dies in the process of deleting a node, which is an edge case in itself. And then something would have to be doing that at the same time. Yeah. So
right. So the removing the taint and uncordoning is very much an edge case. The one that Jack mentioned is a different scenario where we already, like somebody else already started working on the node, and CA should not consider it for scale down.
That's essentially new behavior totally.
Yeah, so I'm a bit worried, like if somebody manually cordons the node today, Autoscaler will happily remove it.
And people do that for like manually sort of trigger.
Yeah, so if we now introduce a new behavior where CA does not remove such nodes, it may break people.
Yeah, that sounds fair. So I think if that's a totally new behavior, then we could consider doing that if we get input from the user community that they want that change. But to the other point, if something is happening after cluster autoscaler has already decided to scale down a node, it's really too late at that point.
Okay.
I think that the issue is that, well, the node might be broken, and the CA's behavior when it restarts is that it will mask that. It will remove both its taint and the unschedulable bit. So then, like for CA, that's okay. We'll just reevaluate the node again. Whether that's fine for the other component that set the unschedulable bit, that's another question. The practical question here, though, is like how probable this is, and what's the saner default behavior? I don't know. Maybe we want to flip the flag's default value, but still leave it as an escape hatch if it's controversial. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's why I thought about like flipping it to true by default, because like cordoning is what you want when you're removing a node. And then we can wait for a couple of releases before taking away the like the option to choose the behavior, unless somebody complains and we have a good reason to keep it.
Sorry, I know I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna just lower my hand. One reason why it might be the default behavior is to accommodate more, or I say more conservative scale down. So for example, by not cordoning the node, that allows for a future check to be negative, which means cluster autoscaler is going to say, okay, actually I can't scale this down. More traffic has arrived on the cluster. Now this is no longer, is that an outcome of the current behavior?
So
you don't.
I'm not. So the reason why we have current behavior, like a current way of defaulting, is purely historical reasons. I mean, we didn't have cordoning. People were complaining that we're not cordoning, so somebody added an option, and we never flipped the default. The option was there, so if somebody wanted that, they flipped the behavior. But yeah. So that we just never made the decision to actually encourage this behavior by default. It was just always a opt-in after multiple issues where this was causing problems, and it can cause problems if you have a wildcard toleration on your workload. Then the taint doesn't do anything. You can still get scheduled on a node that is being removed by Autoscaler right now.
Yeah,
and this is a bug.
Okay, so and those workloads will get scheduled and then they will be evicted ungracefully. That's the outcome.
Yeah,
it's not that cluster autoscaler will see that on like some final last before I actually initiate the Cloudflare call to delete the node. I'm going to see have any new pods arrived, in which case I'm not going. That doesn't happen.
No, there's no second.
So it's purely undesirable behavior. I see.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's clearly more desirable to cordon the node properly. It's just that there are some edge conditions where it could lead to some weird behavior, but They seem pretty rare, and the benefits seem worth it to me at least.
I sort of like. I definitely feel like we should put out, try and get some feedback from the community of like, are there people who would not want it to, or like if we were to flip the default to true, would want to go back to false.
Do you have any process to gather such feedback effectively?
Mailing list and the
Slack.
Yeah.
It's a common problem with all SIGs.
Yeah. You mean proactively reach for feedback, because we can also reactively like flip the default and then introduce some warning in logs, like if you have issues with this behavior, file an issue here.
I would prefer that we proactively like.
Sure. I'm just a bit worried that proactive approach won't reach too many people. This will. Yes, it's better to do things proactively, but if
I suspect we get zero feedback, and we need a cutoff.
Like I'm not like I'm suggesting we time box it as well.
Yeah, maybe some sort of lazy consensus. We're planning to flip this. We're broadcasting this on the mailing list and on Slack. If this looks like it would break you, tell us about it.
Okay, I can do that. I can write on the mailing list
and like an end date where we're actually flipping it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be fun.
Can we queue it up for 134? Because that gives us a couple of months to.
Yes,
that makes that anyway.
Yeah, we can queue it up for 134 and broadcast. We can announce it at KubeCon in the fall, even though it'll have already been released. We can do our best. I think that's. So if we set the expectation that every user knows about it, we'll never do anything. And I unfortunately, that's been the case in SIGs, where that's sort of the goal, and then nothing can ever get done because you can't contact every user.
Okay, are you saying that we should make this lazy consensus before cutting 1.34 CA? So if I send an announcement, say today, and like lazy consensus of 2 weeks, that would still be enough time, right? I think we want to cut the version mid-June.
No, I think
that's 133.
Oh, that's 133. Oh, sorry, right. Okay. Oh, yes. So in that case, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say we could spend all summer with a really small AEP that just defines the behavioral change, the default change. I know that's a little bit of overhead to create an enhancement, but it should be fairly small. And then that's probably the maximum number of visibility in terms of folks who track this stuff.
I mean, I already put some rationale on the pull request. I can convert it to Markdown, but not sure if there is a lot of value in that. I can just circulate.
I think if it fits into a PR description, it's fair not to create the second document, in my opinion at least. But I think either will work as far as broadcasting goes and like getting feedback.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, is it okay just to announce like reach for feedback, linking the PR without generating additional AAP, or check?
That sounds practical, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, thanks.
Cool, thanks. Still don't see AJ. So
yeah, by the way, I am reviewing the not readiness gates proposal separately from this item, so
okay,
it will get reviewed.
Okay, sweet, thanks. Omer.
Yeah, there's a cap which Andrea and me have been working on for the last week. I need one of the SIG to get into, just give me an okay for it. I also ping in on Slack, so you can check it out. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I started having a look over that earlier. I'll should be able to give it finish giving it a review by sort of later this evening. So,
yeah, thank you.
Looks good so far. So yeah, don't think that's a problem. Sweet. And Adrian.
Yeah, mine similar vein. I just made a pull request into the autoscaling repo to GitHub Action, so it requires, I think, a SIG lead or tech lead to approve. So I just thought I'd mention it to put it on Mule's radar. It's super small and minor, but yeah, just thought I'd let you all know.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks. Yeah. Looks. I think should be anyone. Where is it? It's Autoscaler repo, so I think it's anyone at the root owners.
I think so, yes. Which I think is autoscaling leads.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. That was all we had on the agenda. Anything else from anyone else? Cool. In that case, see you all next week. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.